Come with me to the south coast of England for a true American soccer success story. That's right. I am talking about AFC Bournemouth, a club that as recently as 2008 was in almost oblivion, left for dead, hanging over the precipice of league football, about to go into the wilderness, much like Wrexham did one day, and now we're seeing their build-up. But Bournemouth were dead to rights, and little by little, they started to build up. They made some smart moves. They got a good manager in Eddie Howe. They started to develop players, and then, just a few years ago, here comes an American owner, Bill Foley of Black Knight Football, and Bournemouth have gone from good story to fantastic. And it has not culminated, but the latest episode, they beat Nottingham Forest 5-0 over the weekend, featuring a great American star player. And now they are 1 point out of the Champions League spots, and we are just, heading towards 3/4 completion of, not there yet, of the Premier League. And Bournemouth has everyone's attention. And I want to call them the great American success story. But to tell that story, which we will break down here on the Soccer OG, like and subscribe, leave a comment, smash that like button. Be part of this so we can continue to share some interesting stories. From my perspective, I'd love to get you involved. Leave a comment. If you think there's a better American success story across the pond, let me know. But this is how I'm going to break it down, because there's a lot of meat on this bone. But we appreciate everyone tuning in. There are a lot of Americans in the international game. If you look at the ownership groups, it is saturated right now in Europe, in Latin America, everywhere. Just look at the Premier League, for instance. You have American ownership groups, big and small, mostly big, at Arsenal, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Liverpool, the Fenway Sports Group, Manchester United, the Glazers, Ipswich. In the EFL Championship, you have a majority ownership at Leeds, Norwich, Burnley, and then further down, you have the likes of Birmingham and Wrexham, which, we say American, we include our Canadian friends like Ryan Reynolds. But it doesn't end there. In Italy, tons of American ownership groups. In France, in almost every country, multiple American owners that are involved with conglomerates or groups of multiple clubs that they oversee, including AFC Bournemouth, which we will knuckle into here in a moment. But why is it the best? Well, there are some good ones. I think you give Wrexham the tip of the cap for what they've been able to do exposure-wise. That has almost been unprecedented. Birmingham City, an American ownership group. They are in the League One with Wrexham. They have Knights head capital, Tom Wagner. They also have Tom Brady, who we see at a lot of games, so he's very hands-on. Burnley are in the EFL Championship. They have an American owner in Alan Pace. And J.J. Watt, former NFL defensive lineman, who's very hands-on as well. He makes the rounds. You can see he's become a super fan. He is married to a soccer player. And we love all of this. The more the merrier to help boost this sport here in this country so that we can all benefit. The American investor, the American player, the American broadcaster, the people who consume this sport, this all benefits us because it's more eyeballs and there's more interest. You look across to Milan. Milan certainly has a claim. They have they have a majority owner in Jerry Cardinale of Redbird Capital. You might see Cardinale. I highly recommend you tuning to CNBC. You see these American owners there all the time talking about their investment and how they view it as a lucrative move to create interest, to create content, whatever it is, and to serve soccer fans and make some money along the way. There was a famous, I don't know where it was from, but I don't know if it is famous. Cardinale was there with Ben Affleck. So, friends in high places. A lot of people that you like to see more soccer, and they're all into it. So Milan makes sense because you have that ownership group. And you have the two American players who we saw this weekend, AC Milan, Christian Pulisic scoring, Yunus Musa an assist, come from behind victory for the Rossoneri. It was at 3:30 a.m. Pacific time, so I couldn't watch it live. You know, I love to tune in to our American players and see this Milan team do well. But I'm not an early riser. And even if you were an early riser, you're not getting up at 3:30. That's insanity. Okay? So stop these games. I know you have it at a good time in Italy, but come on, hook us up here on the West Coast. No more Milan games at 3:30 Pacific time. So we have a really good candidate in Milan, but I just can't give them the nod over Bournemouth, who, again, we tell the story, and it is parallel to the more told story we have of Wrexham because of the reality show. But Bournemouth, it is incredible to realize that they are in this situation. So let's look at it from the top, because it's 4 tiers, to me, that make Bournemouth the best American soccer story. It is the owner, it is the executive, it's the star player, it is the prospect. 4 tiers. Can't beat that. And while so many ownership groups are doing great, Bill Foley, the owner of this group, the Black Knight Football Group, which also oversees Auckland FC, who play in the Australian A-League. I know they're a Kiwi club. FC Lorient, French team that are the leaders in Ligue 2, should be promoted here next season. Good news for that group of clubs. Hibernian, not doing great in Scotland, but by all means, a great brand and tons of potential with a great support group. Everyone wants to go to Edinburgh and see a Hibs game. I haven't. I would like to one day. And there's also talk of them getting a Portuguese club. So this guy's really serious. Now, we've also seen this with John Textor, who owned Botafogo, who won the Copa Libertadores de Brasileiro. He also owns Lyon. Is it Crystal Palace as well? So, I mean, his group is also there too, and there are some Americans at Botafogo, not Americans, but MLS-based players, which count to some degree, which would put his group right in the mix with Milan and Bournemouth. But Bournemouth still stands alone. And to me, Bill Foley, who when I do turn to CNBC or I watch Business News, I see him a lot. He is an open book. He is the owner of the Golden Knights, so he's had success in other sports. This is a guy who takes his love and appreciation of sports to another level. So Bill Foley, to me, as owners, because the mystery of the Fenway Sports Group or the Glazers or Stan Kroenke, this isn't what Bill Foley is. Bill Foley has a vision. He's told about getting Bournemouth into Champions League and elite competitions. We are looking at the stadium, the Vitality Stadium, which seats 11,000 people, was built in 1910. They are going to add a stand, from what I understand, but the idea is to make a new stadium if this continues to progress, which would be a game changer. And in a lot of ways, not just for their English fans, but I would recommend, if you are new to the sport, looking for a team to support, if I had to do a knee-jerk reaction, I would say Bournemouth. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, why not Bournemouth? You're not starting at the top with a Manchester United or an Arsenal or a Chelsea or what have you. But you got it. You got that American sensibility, and they'll treat you right because they appreciate Americans down there. So I would tell fans to maybe take a look there before you take a look at Birmingham or Wrexham or Burnley or something like that. And you're in the Premier League. Again, 1 point out of the Champions League spots, 41 goals in 23 games, undefeated in 12 games, unbeaten. They just scored 9 goals in the last 2. It's phenomenal. It's caught the attention of the English media, the world media, and certainly here in the United States. I believe Tyler Adams was the #1 trending topic for long stretches of the weekend. Everyone was talking about what he did, which is a small part of this, but a good one for us because Tyler Adams is, and I'm skipping out one of the people, but hey, I'm already here with Adams. Tyler Adams is viewed as one of the most important players for the U.S. men's national team. He plays arguably the most important position for a national team or any soccer team, that defensive midfielder, box-to-box, all-encompassing, whirling dervish, workhorse. Tyler Adams, plus he's tough as nails. had a couple assists, but his influence is being certainly felt for a club that had a lot of injuries and is still yet doing this. He is a star player. So Bournemouth have the ambitious owner, and then they have the star player. Hopefully, knock on wood, he stays healthy. Now, back to the one person I skipped, and that is the president of the club, Tim Bezpachenko, Ohio kid, played soccer in the United States, knew he wasn't going to be a full professional, or long-standing professional, so he went to law school and had the vision to become an executive. Did an incredible job developing winners at Toronto and Columbus Crew, finding talent all along the way. A great eye for that, and what he has done caught the eye of Bill Foley. Now, there are other clubs that have Americans, clubs that I mentioned, in some sort of executive role, but none as front-facing or as decorated as Bezpachenko. And to me, this is the best part of the Bournemouth story, because if we get executives, Americans coming over, calling the shots as a president or a general manager or a technical director, that opens a door for players, more executives, maybe the occasional broadcaster, certainly coaches. That is the entry point because they oversee the hiring process. And Bezpachenko, look, it's been a slam dunk hire from what he has done with these clubs, but in particular for Bournemouth. Now, he did appear on a podcast with Taylor Twellman and said his new role, he's not as hands-on player development and player acquisition. He'll sign off on that, but there is I believe a general manager there at Bournemouth who is the first level of bringing in players. But Bezpachenko is going to roll up his sleeves and wield some power there as well. And that has to be part of the reason a guy like Tyler Adams is there. And the prospect, which I hadn't gotten into, from Maryland, he's with the DC United Academy, Matai Akinbomi, who has not played for Bournemouth yet, but he's been on the bench for every game. That in itself is newsworthy. So you have those four tiers. I want to get back to Bezpachenko because there are other Americans in MLS that would love to follow his path, whether it's John Thorrington, whether it's a Garth Lagerwey, whether it's a Chris Henderson. These are guys that are competent. And once they see in Europe that Bezpachenko can do the job, and no one's doing a better job than Bournemouth, then we might have something. Now, I don't want to give it too much American credit because there are executives there that are doing an incredible job. And big part of the reason for the success is the players, non-American, they've brought in. Justin Kluivert has 11 goals. He was well regarded, son of Patrick, but no one could have foreseen this. They sold Dominic Solanke for a huge total to Tottenham Hotspur, and they've replaced him with Kluivert, Antoine Semenyo, and Danja Utara from Burkina Faso. Those three guys combined, they could probably sell for $130 million. Those are three guys that you would have never been able to say that prior. So they are finding the right replacements and building towards where they want to get at a sliver of the money that these other clubs are spending. Dean Huijsen, I know I butchered that, the young Dutch defender, he's fantastic. So all of this is good, but it's the Americans at every level that has gotten me pretty excited. So we're going to keep tabs of that. And by the way, this weekend, Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium hosting first place Liverpool. It is the game of the weekend. Make no mistake. And we will all be tuned in. You should be too, to see if Bournemouth can keep it going. Because this is a great story. And take some pride in it. Because Americans help make it. The Soccer OG. Like and subscribe. Hit that button. Leave a comment. And we'll be back again soon to continue to discuss the beautiful game.